Trust Notes, October 4th, 2025. We're 1 month out from 52,000 state and local elections nationwide. State and municipal elections build and form the infrastructure of a pluralistic democracy, and their outcomes are determined by voter turnout. So let's turn out, show up, and vote. Beyond and in addition to action at the ballot box, the Black community urgently needs to do something different. Enough is enough of the old bromides and the outworn thinking that accompanies them. It's time to collectively take stock, expand our perspective, and devise a clear-eyed plan. However, this will require us first and foremost to trust each other. Black trust is a complex proposition. This trust imperative is no small thing. Yes, it is imperative because at the outset of October 2025, more than 319,000 Black women and 296,000 Black men have been pushed out of the workforce since February of this year by administration policies. Legislation passed 3 months ago calls for cuts in food stamp funding, SNAP, by about 20% or $186 billion through 2034. Cuts in Medicaid will cause 4.2 million Americans to lose their health insurance and access to needed, often life-saving health care. Already struggling Black and rural communities will be hit hardest. It's time to get it in gear wherever we are, in whatever ways we can, before we become the proverbial frogs boiled alive in a pot of water. The earlier slow boil. The cultural water seemed lukewarm until a steadily intensifying slow boil broke through to the surface with the 2016 election results. The rage of a massive swath of Americans for whom multiracial democracy that seemed an existential threat had previously been persistently bubbling and brewing below the surface. Our comfy, insulated cocoons kept us from fully noticing this and addressing the deteriorating and dangerous situation until it was too late. We had nervously adapted to the increasingly toxic media narrative dominated by open bigotry and hatred. We had been witnessing systematic, methodical gerrymandering, the creation of voting districts that drastically favor one party over another since the mid-'80s. We watched the appointment of 3 U.S. Supreme Court justices and more than 200 other federal judges across the appellate and district courts from 2016 to 2020, which radically reoriented the judicial landscape nationwide. Yet, even as the detailed plan of action was laid bare before all of us to see in Project 2025, we either averted our gaze or failed to fully integrate what the handwriting on the wall foretold. Right out of the gate in January, numerous executive orders from January 2025 began the dismantling and elimination of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across federal government and federal contracting. Small business grant funding, which had assisted Black and women-owned businesses, also ground to a halt early in the year. As Project 2025 clicked into place in real time, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and anti-discrimination laws were weakened, stripped of personnel, and enforcement funding. Black voices and representation in history are being erased, as honest discussion of American history is no longer permitted in the curricula of school districts across the country. Fast forward to October 2025, the enemy within. Job cuts to the federal workforce are already devastating Black families who rely on these stable career paths to maintain a toehold in the middle class. Amidst the current government shutdown, we wait to see if the administration will make good on its threat to fire rather than furlough large numbers of federal government employees. This, again, is in alignment with Project 2025 projected recommendations. And last week, U.S. commanders gathered at Quantico, Virginia, were told that the military would be used against the enemy within. It was suggested that the U.S. military should use some of these dangerous Democrat-run cities as training grounds, citing high crime rates that make them uninhabitable, hellish war zones. Dog whistle assertions included, inner cities are a big part of war now, and we're under invasion from within, indicating that controlling domestic territory is essential for national security. The insinuation was that the deployment of troops in blue, largely Democratic cities is necessary to address the horrible plague that is taking place from within. In this emerging landscape, Democrat-led cities apparently need to be straightened out one by one with military assistance. The generals assembled were told that we have to handle it before it gets out of control, and it won't get out of control once you're involved. Who do we suppose are the perceived enemies living in blue Democratic inner cities? Highly vulnerable immigrants were the low-hanging fruit. Are we next? Do we want to wait around like frogs about to boil in a pot? Or shall we find ways to take stock, expand our awareness, organize in new ways, and trust each other before it's too late?